Hi, I'm David. Today I want to talk about the rubbish classification in China. I got these two brochures from the volunteering community. And now let's have a look at it. Rubbish classification. Start from me. It's the recyclable and waste paper, 3C, plastic, glasses, and metal. For the food waste, bone and guts, leftovers, waste leaves, rind and stone, withered branch and leaves. Hazardous waste, used batteries, waste pen pots, waste fluorescent tube, insecticide, expired medicine. Residual waste, pretty paper, but disposable dishware, pretty package, old pottery, and porcelain. And next one here, so many words, and simply understand it just for the rubbish classification to disseminate it and participate and promote it. Next page. Procedure of the rubbish classification and collect the rubbish from the communities, public places, and public building and then put them into the bin. These four, and then transfer them by trucks to each plant. Yeah, these 4 plants. And here's the QR code. Let's scan it. Okay, so Kunshan rubbish classification is the subscriber of the WeChat. All the news about the rubbish classification in Kunshan area. Here. Yeah. Just like that. And another one is our community will do the rubbish classification at July 27th. And here's the map of the community. For this picture is the locations of the rubbish bin now. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, only 7 now. For the black circle here, they are the location of the rubbish bins during the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic to the July 26th. And before the COVID-19 pandemic, just like the apartment 24s, here's the 4 units here, here, and here. They set rubbish bins in front of the gate of the unit. Here, and here. It's so convenient, but for the smells, it's not so good and a little bit dirty. Now only 7 locations of the bin now. It's much better now. The rubbish taking out time is 6:30 to 8:30 a.m. and 6 to 8 p.m. The limited time and the limited locations, I really agree with. It's real cleaner than before. And if you break the rule, if you put the rubbish into the wrong bin or do the wrong classification, the volunteers will correct you. And if you still do the wrong classification, you have to pay 50 to 200 yuan for penalty. Okay, now I will take out the rubbish now.
那个以后要定时定点投放啊。
好的。
8点6点以后过来。
好的，好的。
今天。
As early as July 1957, the Beijing Daily published an article on its front page. Rubbish will be classified in the city, urging Beijing residents to classify their rubbish for recycling. And this was the birth of the rubbish classification in the world. However, at that particular time in history, due to the extreme scarcity of materials in society, original people, also persons of economizing, would send their rubbish such as toothpaste peels, orange peels, broken glasses, old newspaper, etc., to the state-run scrapyard to sell for money, and even feed rotten vegetables leaves to chickens and ducks. At that time, there was no hazardous rubbish, and there was no plastic rubbish in China until 1979, just because plastic is very expensive and had not been thrown away before. In 2000, 8 major cities were identified as pilot cities for rubbish classification, but only to distinguish between recyclable and non-recyclable rubbish bins and not to promote it to residents. People are not used to classifying their rubbish and are still used to throwing their rubbish into any bin they want. And the government has not built enough rubbish treatment plants. The government collects all rubbish and buries it in the mountains. The only change is the number of rubbish bins. In 2011, Shanghai began a pilot program in some special communities to develop residents' awareness of classifying and to learn from management experience. After years of preparation, Shanghai was the first to write waste classification into law, which came into effect on July 1st, 2019. It has now been in place for 1 year with good results. In recent years, China has accelerated the implementation of rubbish classification system, and by the end of 2020, 46 key cities will have a basic rubbish classification and treatment system, and by the end of 2025, cities at the prefecture level and above will have a basic rubbish classification and treatment system. Rubbish classification is a complex system. After classification has to be classified, transport, processing, and use, which in turn involves the industrial chain, such as scrap iron to be recycled, have to be able to deal with scrap iron factory, waste paper recycling to have recycled paper plant, waste plastic recycling also have to have recycled plastic plant and other supporting work. These industrial chains are not established in the short while. Rubbish classification can be done too quickly around the world, and it will take 10 to 20 years of effort. Study has shown that the factors affecting residents' intention to classify rubbish include moral constraints, policies and regulations, environment awareness, environment knowledge, propaganda orientation, and many other aspects. And for the residents themselves, they do not have much time and energy, take up too much space at home, do not know enough about rubbish classification, and do not pay enough attention to it. The economy concept of collective action dilemma, proposed by economist Mansell Olson, is more than capable of explaining this problem adequately. To put it in the most layman's terms, more people are reluctant to take the initiative to classify their waste to save themselves the trouble, and are simply pinning their hopes on others and accepting to share in the fruit of improved social welfare. So, to break through the collective action dilemma in China, there must be third-party enforcement and selective incentives for waste classification. I wish China could do better. I spent a year in Australia in 2017, and in Townsville, Queensland, people were pushing a few bins from their homes out into the street once a week on Mondays to be loaded by a rubbish trucks. This was manageable, but in the summer the bins for kitchen waste had so many maggots in them. And I used to travel to Japan. And in Kyoto, people put out different kinds of rubbish on different days of the week, and it was very careful classified. The development of rubbish classification, I think people have realized that the classification is not only for people to separate the rubbish for resource utilization, but also for all people to participate in environment protection. Because everyone is producing rubbish, so everyone can remind themselves to save resources and be responsible for the environment through rubbish classification, which is the ultimate goal of the rubbish classification.